My friends and I booked an Airbnb with hidden cameras, and I have been waiting to tell this story. It's probably going to need to be 2 parts, but I promise it's worth it.
All right.
So my friends and I book an Airbnb. We look at the reviews. It's in an area we're familiar with, where we all went to college, and it looks great. You know, checks out, did our research. So I booked it through my account. It's the night before, we're all supposed to leave, so I reach out to the host, which I now realize is a property management company, and say, hey, one of my friends who is a registered guest on the listing is going to be getting there before me. I need the check-in information to give to her so she can get into the house. And they're like, oh, well, we don't actually have that information. Like, you're going to have to call Beth, because she's like the property management person in person, and she's going to be able to help you. So right off the bat, I'm like, something's fishy. Like, this feels weird, but what do I know? So I text the woman the next morning, and she calls me right away, and I explain the situation, and she's all up in arms. That's not going to work. Our policy is it has to be the person that booked the listing.
I find it interesting already, given that we already know where this is heading, why there's such sticklers about that rules like that. If you're just trying
to... let it ride, and you can see whatever nudity you want to see or, like, freaky shit.
Exactly.
That's weird. No, yeah, that is weird to be like...
We are only registered freaks.
Exactly. Only the freak that booked the Airbnb. Nobody else.
Come on now. I could see your picture. I don't know what the other person
right. Like. No. I want it to be you, your fine ass, not your ugly ass friends.
So I like go back and forth, and I finally convinced her, let me give her your phone number, and then she'll call you when she gets there and get the code. Because the code could not be in writing. That was like her number one thing. Like, oh, I can't share the code over text. Okay, whatever.
That's pretty fucking weird.
Yeah, that you won't share the code over text.
You ever get that with like someone like with their social security number? I'm like, all right, and then I will immediately put it down in the phone. Like, you know, I'm gonna put it.
What are you doing with people's social security numbers?
You know, you have to take it for like
for work.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like someone who's like really weird about like putting it in writing. I'm like, yeah, but it's gonna go in writing.
In writing, I'm about to
in my system immediately
right, exactly.
when I send it to the insurance company. But okay, sure. Mm-hmm. Read it to me.
Right.
Thought it was weird. She also tried to ask a bunch of like personal questions, like, oh, like, what are you guys in town for? Like, who's coming? Like, that sort of thing.
None of your fucking business.
I, at the time, not knowing now how the story ends, I think I would have maybe thought it was weirder. So I go back to work. I check my phone a couple hours later, and I have a missed call from her and a text being like, oh, you need to call me. Again, why? So I hop on the phone, and I'm like, hey, what's going on? And she's, again, all up in arms. Well, we've been waiting for months to get a thermostat installed, and the only appointment they have available is tomorrow at 8 a.m. And it's just really inconvenient that you guys are going to be in the house at that time.
What in the fuck?
And I'm like, inconvenient for you. It's inconvenient for me.
Yeah.
I was like, honestly, I'm spending $300 a night to stay here. Like, I don't really want to have to deal with random people coming in the house.
What if that's when they're coming to get the SD card full of all the news?
Oh, 8 a.m. in the morning?
Yeah,
maybe?
you would think you would be able to come at any time.
They probably don't need to schedule that. Also, it's a lady she's talking to. Is it like a creepy ass, freaky ass lady host this
That's
time?
also probably a good, was it just Jelaine? Every pervert needs like a right hand woman.
Yeah.
And she was like, oh, well, like, we've just been waiting so long. And I was like, honestly, like, I'm not comfortable. Like, I'm sorry, but I think you're going to need to reschedule that appointment. And she was like, fine. Like, oh, I guess that's fine. Like, super pissed off. So I text my friends at this point, and I'm like, we are probably going to die. Like, something feels weird. I literally even told my boss, like, if I go missing this weekend, this is what happened. My friend calls the lady, gets the code, then calls me as she's trying to put the code in the door, and it's not working. Like, it is very clearly the wrong code.
What was it?
I'll preface by saying, this Airbnb listing said that there were outdoor cameras. That's fine. What's not fucking fine is as she's trying to put the code in, a man's voice starts coming through the front door camera. And it's like, hey, are you trying to get in? Here's the code. Completely different fucking code. And this one works. So again, fucking weird.
That is weird.
I'm not.
What would be the purpose of the wrong code situation?
Well, all right, that could
is
be a
she just
mistake.
pissy because they made her reschedule the thermostat?
If it was a retaliatory thing, that'd be super weird. But if it was just a mistake,
because she's a completely different code, though.
Yeah, but like, what if you change it often and she's got this stupid no writing it down system?
So maybe she just hasn't memorized it wrong.
Or like, oh shit, that has some. I'm just saying. And then the Ring camera answering also isn't weird to me.
Yeah, that's not that weird.
Like, you get a notification, you're like, oh shit, and then like, oh man,
Does she think it's weird?
Beth always never writes shit down, and so now we got to go.
Maybe she's just saying that the weird part was that the code was a completely different code.
Yeah,
and it was a completely different person, a man answering on the camera.
But yeah, I'm wondering.
See, this guy's like, hell yeah, come on in, so I can spy on you, doing freaky ass.
The code is 6969. Come on in.
Fucking weird. She goes inside and she's like, it is literally -12 in here. It is fucking freezing. And I'm like, well,
our nipples. There we go.
So she's like, I have to call this lady back and see if I can get the heat on.
Why don't you like go back to the
She's
doorbell?
Gonna be like, well, you should have let me install the thermostat, bitch.
Yeah, that's true. And also, like, when you like go back up to the doorbell camera, and be like, hey. I'm calling Beth, but you know Beth.
She's not answering. Yeah.
She's like walking through and she's like, something's fucking weird. Like there's shoes by the door. There's a creepy, like weird mirror in the bathroom that's like broken to fit in between the corners so it faces the toilet. Like weird fucking shit. And she was like, yeah, the lady on the phone told me to take my sneakers off. And I'm like, yeah, like I saw it on the listing. They don't want shoes in the house. Like whatever.
How did she know you had sneakers on?
She keeps walking around and this lady texts her again and says, take your sneakers off. Maybe it's the true crime in me, but I'm like, humor me. Are you wearing sneakers specifically? And she's like, yeah. And I'm like,
how'd she know
they're watching sneakers? You. They're fucking watching you. She would just say shoes. They're watching you. And she's like, Alyssa, there's a fucking camera. And I'm like, pardon? And sure as shit, in the corner of the room she was in, there's a camera. In the room she was in had a bed. So now I'm fucking freaking out because that's against policy and also ew. Yeah. And so she starts poking around and
why would you immediately tell on yourself though? Like, take off those red sneakers.
In the living room.
Like what?
So we look up Airbnb's camera policy and it has to be, indoor cameras have to be noted on the listing. They have to be visible, fully visible, and they have to not be facing bathrooms or sleeping spaces. So like 3 fucking strikes and you're out. So obviously we reach out to Airbnb and at first they try and like brush us off and they're like, oh, well, the listing says there's cameras, but like, no, it says there's outdoor cameras, bitch. But once we sent the picture of the camera that was facing the bed, that was kind of like all they needed. And we actually got escalated like pretty quickly to the right person. Took a little bit of a Karen voice, but we got there. And
that's
then
because Airbnb was watching.
No.
So sorry, we're going to pay for your hotel. We're going to refund you for the first half of your trip. And then we're going to launch a formal investigation. And once those results are in, we'll refund the second half. So they concluded the investigation like a month later, and they did refund my second half. I will say I've seen other listings from the same property management company, which seems like not good. Then like throughout the weekend, we kept getting calls from Beth. Like, I don't like that this woman still has my fucking number. But that's our story.
What the fuck else did Beth want after that? Like,
I would have wanted to answer. Yeah. Man, so Beth was the one who was calling about the shoes.
Yeah.
I bet you dude from the doorbell camera is pretty pissed off.
I know. He's like, you're ruining this for me. But like, again, if you're going to have hidden cameras and shit, like why immediately tell on yourself like that?
Yeah, I wonder if they were kind of trying to pretend that well,
it seems like these might have been cameras for like an overzealous host, like making sure you take off your sneakers and shit rather than like trying to see freaky ass shit.
I think so too. And this must have, I was looking at 2023. So this is before they switched their policy because that was last year.
Well, what is the policy now?
Or no, it was early this year. Excuse me. Well, no, now
this is 2025. Yeah.
Oh man, it's like when you sign a January check wrong. Yeah. It's the new policy is no indoor cameras at all. So the old policy that she just cited was they had to be very visible. So like at my Airbnb,
because I mean, if you're in an Airbnb, like you're not necessarily only going to be doing like freaky ass shit or being like naked in the bedroom or the bathrooms. Like you could do anything anywhere.
My argument would be, all right, that's fine, but if we make it up front,
but if you tell you, if we tell you there's a camera,
and
then
you just
like,
forget about it, well, that's what happens to every reality TV person,
exactly,
you know?
Yeah.
And that's why I got some great freaky shit in my living room. So I wonder how they're enforcing their shoe policy now at that Airbnb.
That's so funny. Immediately told on herself.
I saw it on the way in.
Yeah.